Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Dee Shepherd, and welcome to Power Talk Show. Today we're going to do part 2 of our Kick-Ass series because we're going to stop being a slave. What are you a slave to in life? Slavery is a horrible subject, as we know from past, as to how it was throughout the world. And today, people are slaves to quite a lot of different things, to their emotions, to their relationships, to their work. There's a lot of different things in which you can be a slave to. So I would just like to welcome the bodacious Mark Wynne to today. Hey, Mark.
Bodacious? Where'd you get that word from?
I love the word bodacious.
No, I'm. You can just forget about all the compliments. There's nothing in the world that is going to cheer me up because I'm peed off totally and utterly. Just, you can forget it, right? Bodacious, bodacious, bodocious. Doesn't matter. I can't even spell it. Not interested, right? My life's an absolute disaster. It's a nightmare. You can forget it.
Why?
Totally forget it.
What's wrong? What's wrong?
Oh, it's just like the last few days, week. It's like my life's never been my own. Then I woke up this morning and it was almost like I'd kind of become a slave. I don't know what happened, right? Just everything just gets right on top of me. It's like my life's not my own. I'm like my work. I mean, what am I working for? Who am I working for? And what I'm doing is making other people happy. And then, you just kind of, what are you supposed to do? These are metaphoric, by the way. Well, maybe I did wake up and I felt like a slave, but you've got the key for these, have you not?
No.
Right, well then it looks like I'm going to be a slave, aren't I?
You've got some new jewellery, Mark.
Yeah, well, the original OG, look at this. Do you know what I could do? How about this then, right? I could be a rapper.
Yeah.
I could be a rapper,
OJ Mark.
OJ Mark. But no, seriously, so many people become slaves, without realizing it. And this is the bit. Sometimes I find that, life kind of takes over, whether it's your relationship or business or whatever it is. And you're just trying to kind of keep other people happy all of the time, as opposed to looking after yourself. What's that?
It's my ball and chain.
Very clever. I like that. That was very well put together.
Yeah.
My chain's better than yours, though.
It is.
My chain's better than yours. My chain's better
more
because
colourful, but and it's shiny.
Not much shiny. Look. It's shiny. It's all shiny. It's all shiny. But mine doesn't have any keys. Right?
Oh.
If I'm going to get out of this, right, you're going to have to find me a key to get out of this. What about that for a link?
That's a good link. I might have a key or two lying about.
Anyway, so that's what I think. I think we all become, well, not we all become, that's a bit unfair, but in life it's very easy, in relationships, because I was in one, where, you start becoming a square peg in a round hole. Without realizing it, you lose an element of control over your life because you're trying to please other people. I suppose the slave bit for me, is about you think, you look back over your life. I mean, this happened to me literally this morning, and you kind of go, what have I done? What have I achieved? And you become a slave to work. You become a slave to a career. You become a slave to a boss, to a company, and you're working so hard for them, and then boom, there's no company or there's no job, and the loyalty goes out the window and you become a slave for what? For nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we're finding that in the world at the moment, that all these big companies are suddenly using this coronavirus thing to basically, British Airways are doing it. They've been pulled up, by the British government for doing this, for excuses to changing people's contracts, for getting rid of people. and you've been a slave all this time. So we have to find a way to help everybody get free from the ball and chain and the slavery that's going on. So where do you think we should start? Any thoughts?
Yeah, there's a few things. I mean, slavery comes into loads of places, as we know. Your relationship, hence the ball and chain.
Mm-hmm.
The work, as you said, the workplace. But do we actually have a choice in this, Mark?
I think we do. I think we were born with choice, and I think we can choose if we are consciously awake enough, and that's the key, as to whether we are prepared to accept our lives as they are, right? Which could be in slavery, or we decide that we want to be free. So what's the choice?
I would always change my mindset. I did it for my health. I did it for my relationship. I broke free from ill health and a not so good relationship. And it's not that the person was wrong, it was just wrong for me.
Listen, I was with you for all of those years and you never told me. You never told me I was the wrong person. Right? I think that is just so unfair that you stabbed me in the back on air like this, right? I mean,
over.
All that time, right? You were so unhappy and you never told me.
Yeah.
That is shocking.
It's terrible. I apologise, Mark, but I had to tell you in some way.
Yeah, but in public, across the air, right?
Yeah, it saves the tears.
When you're socialising, self-isolating in a different place, you could have told me all those time ago. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, I think we both had that kind of similar, same type of situation, and I see it so much in society that people, if you took them to one side and asked them, are they really happy?
Yeah.
Really, really happy, and they were honest, and there was no one listening. How happy really are they? They could choose to be really happy. And for me, it's about giving away control, right? Control, because as soon as I start having to please other people, as soon as I start putting my work before me, is where slippery slope starts to come. And that's where you give away control over your life. And it goes bit by bit by bit by bit. And you never realize that it's gone until it's gone. And then you look back over your life and you kind of go, what have I done? What have I achieved?
Yeah.
Who am I making happy?
And where do you bring that freedom in? When do you stop being a slave? When are you then a hostage to what you know in life? Because that's what a lot of people do with their work, with their marriage, with any relationship with their parents, whoever, with their siblings. We go into some sort of routine where we get cut off from the things we like to do. We stop our passions. I mean, my goodness, if I was in a relationship and my partner didn't like what I did, or I didn't like what they did, I would still champion them to do what they did and enjoy it. Like if they liked motor racing and I didn't, we could then make it something exciting where if we go away to watch a Grand Prix, then I could go away and do whatever I wanted when that was on, and we could get together again afterwards. Or we could make it such a fun family event that we could go together and travel the world doing it. So we're seeing different parts of the world, we're seeing this. And it's not about compromising, it's more about living each other's passions and being part of that.
Yeah, okay, so let's kind of break this down a little bit, right? I'm going to suggest separating into kind of two bits. So what do you do about if you have become a slave to work as one, because I think that's a very common thing. And then if we took the other one and say, what do I do if I become a slave, with a small s, to somebody else? I'm making them happy is what we're saying when we're using the term slave, And I think it's probably better if we can kind of break down some examples between work and people, relationships, partners.
Absolutely.
I think the key for everybody that's watching this is it's okay talking about these things and then making people aware, and they go, because suddenly you've got awareness, but unless you actually do something about it, then the problem gets worse, and it gets worse, like a hole.
Absolutely. And some people might not even be aware that they are a slave to their work or a slave to the relationship. So talking about work first, when you're a slave to your work, you do it because you might enjoy part of your job and you might not enjoy other parts of it. And I hear this over and over in society where people say, better the devil you know than the one you don't. And they don't want to go for that uncertainty of a new job because at the moment they know how much they're getting paid, they know the hours they need to work, they know what is regular in their life. Whereas going for the unknown, they don't know their new boss, they don't know the people they're going to be working for, and they get stuck in that certainty in which you live. And when you're stuck in certainty, that's when you become the slave. So it's about choosing to jump out with your comfort zone to find your passions in life. And it might not be the right decision.
We're both coaches, right? We're both successful coaches. So I think what's really good, though, for people watching is they can get a D opinion and they can get a mark opinion, right, in terms of an explanation. And then, I was going to put a kind of analogy in there because you used to be a driving instructor. And like you can have two driving instructors, but a person prefers one as opposed to the other because it depends what resonates and how they get on with them. So I'll put another version on. Both are correct that people can consider. This one comes from personal experience. And so the way that I try and look at life is that, your whole life should be made up of 3 individual circles. So it doesn't matter which order you put them in, but say business over here at the top, you then have family life, social life sort of on to one side, and over here you've got you time, personal life. And what I tend to find is that if the business starts to get sort of, this is the kind of test for being a slave, if you start putting in so much more time, so much more effort, and then you suddenly find that the more you put in, the more the business wants of you in terms of time and kind of mental application, that the circle gets bigger and bigger, and it starts to erode into your family time, right? And people see that because they're less with their families. And then it starts to erode into your personal time. And with me, I know my life has gone out of balance because in my personal time, there is going down the gym, training. But I then find that because I'm so tired now, because of all the work, that I have a lack of energy and impulse to want to train. And then suddenly my training time drops off because I'm doing less training. I've got less mental cohesion, but kind of like, I'm less alive. And then because that drops off, then my whole psychology of life just goes out the window because it's you're being sucked and drawn into work. And so that's, for me, is the test as to, am I in charge of my life or am I a slave to my work? Because that circle's grown so big that it's now started to erode into these what now we are ones at the bottom. So that's how I look at it. And, so that's my test. As soon as my training, my personal time is gone and I'm feeling overtired, I'm a slave. I'm working for who at the end of the day? Because it's not my life. Exactly.
And that's a sad fact of a lot of people's lives these days. And I was there as well. I was in a job before I was an instructor, and it was not good. It was not good at all. I really didn't like it. It was boring. It paid the bills, but it bored the living daylights out of me. I worked 4 days on and 3 days off, which was fantastic. But I worked 10-hour days, and I really disliked the job. And I had a choice back then to dislike the job and carry on, or turn my mind frame around and enjoy my job.
All right. Okay. So we said we have the analogy in terms of business, and then we have in terms of people, right? You quite rightly said that we were talking about, say, I don't know, a guy that's really into motor racing, but his wife and his daughter really dislike it. So does he bury that interest inside of him? And suddenly he becomes a different person to who he really wants to be. He's unable to be excited about stuff that really excites him. So we've got those two kind of floating analogies. Let's get right down to the crux of it. This is what people are asking at home. They're saying, how do we change our lives so that we are now the masters of our own universe? And so Dee's going to give her take on the thing, and I'll give another take on the thing, and then people are getting two for the price of one. Isn't that wonderful?
That is super. How many people get to do this for free? Not very many. So
paying a lot of money for this.
Yeah. Okay, so freedom in your relationships that's big, because we go into relationships, we then spend a lot of time with our new partner, especially if we get married to them, and we lose a lot of the time we used to spend with our friends, because we're getting into this enjoyment of knowing someone else, the enjoyment of being loved, everything else. And we begin to lose ourselves slowly. And the trick is, and that key to unlock the cuffs is bring back the love and the passion that you have for the things you like to do. Like if it's painting, spend that time doing it. It will then give, if you have children in your relationship, it will then give your partner time, personal time, to spend with the children. And that's something very, very special. And that's partly the reason that we don't do the things that we like to do. And one of my coaching friends at the moment had put up a post recently to say that her fitness coaching is not only for the ladies in which she teaches it to. She's a kickboxing champion. She's absolutely amazing. And she put this post up because she interviewed some of the husbands of the wives, and the wives were feeling a bit, I can't go and do my thing that I want to do because we're all at home. I feel really bad and no one else is getting out. And there was all this guilt involved in it. And what she did was interview the father, the partner, and he was loving it because he got to spend time with his son that he wouldn't get to spend alone with his son unless the wife was away doing this activity. So they get an hour a couple of times a week, which is absolutely superb. So one of the keys is bring that back in, your passions into your life, and it brings extra things back in. It gives you some time away from your partner, and it also gives your partner time to do what they want or spend time with the children, building the relationships within the family. And it really works instead of the guilt of not doing it.
Good answer. I tend to like, some people call it confrontation, but really that's just a perception thing at the end of the day. And I think the best thing in the world is to sit down over a cup of tea, and if you're really posh, a cucumber sandwich.
Yes.
And discuss things with people, right? Because what I see so many people doing is they get upset about something, that the other person's doing, not doing, willing to share, unwilling to share. And as a result of that, the emotions, because they have to go somewhere. You've got, emotion has to go somewhere at the end of the day, because emotion creates energy, and that energy has to go somewhere. And you can either, put it into some form of motivation to do something, or you store it up inside you. If you store it up inside you, it will eat you up. And relationships go wrong because people, have a resentment, a jealousy, an anger, a bitterness. I don't know. There's something between two people. Excuse me. And I always think it's about sitting down with that person and saying, can we talk about this? I love motor racing. I know I respect it. It's something that, you don't like grease monkeys, but in this example around, and just say, how about we do this trade-off, where we will go to south of France and we'll spend so many days doing things you like, and so many days, I can go and watch the motor racing. Come with me if you want to. And it's that trade-off that I think is really, really important. But that only comes because of communication, from talking to people. and saying, how do you feel about this? And because the perception you've got in terms of how the other person feels about something might be completely and utterly wrong. In a lot of cases, it probably is. And our lives would be so much better if we actually, rather than got angry, got upset, refused to speak to people, hide away from the situation, let it boil in our heads, run these scripts and scenarios through, we just sat down for a nice cup of tea. And if the whole thing, we fell out over it, then we were always going to fall out over it. And I think it's always important to be that kind of honest approach. And this is where people are too scared. They hide away from that honest discussion because of the fear of upsetting the other person. In the meantime, they compromise their own lives. So you could be in a marriage for, 10 years, and you could be complete subservient, secondary person. You're never happy because you're unable to be yourself to keep the other one happy. And you give 10 years of your life away in this particular situation where if you spoke to them, it could have been completely different. So I think communication is the key, to this situation.
Yeah, I definitely would agree that communication is when you realise that things aren't going as well as what they should do and they're not making you happy any longer.
No.
Or before it gets to that stage that it doesn't make you happy any longer, the minute you have the feelings about it, feelings are there for a big reason in your life. They're there as a warning sign. Therefore, it's time to communicate. And that is, you hit it right in the head there, Mark, because when people don't communicate, they're scared of what the other person may think, of what they're thinking, and they're scared that they might be hurting that person. But what you're doing is hurting yourself deep down and making yourself miserable, which then actually makes your partner and everyone else in a household pretty damn miserable as well.
Yeah, it just goes from worse to worse. So what about the business situation then? You got any ideas in terms of, you become a slave to the work? You wake up one day and you suddenly realise that the work's controlling you. What would you do in that situation?
Yeah, goodness, I did that to myself last week. I was working 15-hour days and I got tired. And I decided, do you know what? I'm going to take the evening off, the next evening. And I did it. So I changed it because I can do my own hours, and I was just overly working. So I made that choice because I recognized that I was getting tired. But if you're an employee, you don't have that choice of your working hours. But you have got the choice again to communicate with your boss to say, I'm finding it really difficult, things are not working, the hours are too much, or you're asking too much of me. Your boss will respect you much more than what you are giving your boss credit for, because they're not a boss for no reason. They have got some brains in their head, most of them anyway, so not all of them, but most of them, and it is just that fear that stops you from doing it again. And bringing that communication into wherever it is affecting you, then that's again the big key to getting your answer.
I'd like to add to that as well. I think it's important to have a barometer in life. So a barometer for me, I suggest everybody has this, is you have a priority, something that is so important in your life. So this is non-materialistic because it's about you, it's about the person. So for me, sitting right there at the very top, is my training, and so my barometer is, as soon as I'm unable to train because I'm maybe too tired, or I think I haven't, I've got insufficient amounts of time, so one of those two starts to go out the window. My barometer starts to go, oh, Mark, look, your work's taking over again. Mm-hmm. At that point, you have to take a step back, and then because your priority is you, then you have to then push the work. You've got to literally push the work back and say, right, so committing less time or less effort to that particular job. Like I can work my own hours, but it still takes over. And rather than having to go and speak to a boss about doing too much, I've got to come and speak to myself. That's even harder.
Yeah.
Right? And it's knowing where your barometer is, where is your priority in life. And if you can feel the difference between work taking over and then yes, go and speak to the boss and just go, these are the issues I've got. But sometimes go in with solutions as well. So say, well, look, if we can do this differently, if we can allocate the work around differently, if I can do different hours, I could be more productive, come in with something positive. A boss hates problems, but if you're coming in with solutions, because you're talking to them, we'll go back to communication again, they will love you for it. And, if it's going to make your life better because you can make your job better, then you do it. So it's all about, for me, that communication thing, taking back control. And do you know what? They've come off.
They're off.
The key. I'm free. Look.
Excellent. My ball and chain is away as well.
So I think we've done a cracking job between us, and we've kicked ass. Oh.
Yes. Oh, where is it? Did you bring it?
Hold on. Wait a minute. Here it is.
My magic wand was working again as well.
Wand, right. For anyone that was watching last week, wait a minute. No, that's better.
Yeah, that's better.
There we go. I was kicking ass. I'm here. I was kicking ass last week. And as you saw, I was kicking ass so hard, it disappeared.
Wow! And the magic wand came in and gave the answers.
Superb. Right. So to everyone that's watching, I hope you found that really, really, really useful. And we're going to kick ass again next week, aren't we, Dee?
Yes, we are, Mark.
But we're going to keep it a big surprise as to what we're going to do. We're going to do something special next week.
Oh, yeah.
So, Dee, you started the show. You finish it.
Well, I would just like to say to bring that freedom back into your life. Stop being a slave and continue with your passions in life. And Mark, one last word from you. What would you give to our viewers?
6 lottery numbers for next week. That's what I'm going to give, right? But unfortunately, if I do that and everybody wins, we're all going to get about £2 each, right? Because there's so many people that watch.
But you've not lost anything.
No, so it's a sharing thing. It's a sharing thing. What would I give people? Do you know what the word that came into my head, right? And it's kind of like irrelevant, but a smile.
Yeah.
I smile. If you're smiling within, if you're happy because you're in control of your life, if you're happy because you've got freedom, if you've got that smile, how wonderful life is if you've got that smile. So you can either be, because we spoke about choice, or smile.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Well, if anyone wants to discuss anything that we spoke about today, please put it in the comments below. That would be super good if you did interact with us, because we love that. We love the interaction. We love being here for you. It's a pleasure to do this every Sunday. Mark and myself get so much out of it, coming and bringing you these ideas every week. And if anyone's got any ideas for future, let us know and we will bring it up. We will do it. So thank you very much for joining us today from the Power Talk Show. We wish you a fantastic rest of your Sunday, a fantastic week, and keep smiling and make the choices. Love you.
Bye-bye, bye-bye.